The planet of Verox, a desolate orb drifting at the edge of the Andromeda galaxy, was a swirl of toxic clouds and harsh winds. Once a thriving hub of biodiversity, centuries of cosmic storms had stripped it of life, leaving its surface barren and its air barely breathable. Among the remnants of this once vibrant world, there was a creature, a species thought to be long extinct. It was known to the galaxy's scholars simply as the Trellic. In a small, domed research facility, human scientists studied the planet's dying ecosystems. Dr. Helen Cartwright, the team's xenobiologist, was in the midst of cataloging soil samples when her scanner buzzed with an anomaly. The readings suggested biological activity, a rare find on Verox. Intrigued, she set out to investigate the signal, her suit's life support systems working overtime against the planet's harsh atmospheric pressure. As she navigated the rocky terrain, Helen spotted a small cave partially obscured by debris. Inside, her flashlight illuminated a scene that took her breath away. Nestled in a corner was a creature, its skin a shimmering tapestry of blues and greens that glowed faintly in the darkness. It was no bigger than a small dog, with 4 eyes blinking curiously at her, and a set of delicate feather-like antennae twitching in response to her presence. Helen knew immediately this was a Trellic. They were supposed to be extinct after a pathogen decimated their population. The creature before her was likely the last of its kind. She whispered into her communicator, "I found something incredible. A living Trellic. It's weak, but alive." Back at the facility, the team was abuzz with excitement. Dr. Rajiv Chopra, the mission's lead scientist, responded with urgency. "Helen, keep it safe. We need to bring it here immediately." Carefully, Helen scooped up the frail creature, wrapping it in her jacket to shield it from the cold. The Trellic shivered but didn't resist. It seemed to understand that this giant being was here to help, not harm. The return journey was tense, with Helen constantly monitoring the creature's vital signs. Upon arrival, the team set up a makeshift habitat in the lab, replicating the conditions of the Trellic's cave as closely as possible. As days turned into weeks, the Trellic, which they affectionately named Miro, began to show signs of recovery. It was a gentle being, its behavior hinting at a complex intelligence. Miro quickly became attached to Helen, following her around the lab and chirping softly whenever she was near. Helen's reports on Miro stirred interest throughout the human colonies. Xenobiologists and conservationists called for measures to protect Verox's remaining life forms, arguing that the discovery of Miro could be a beacon of hope for interspecies understanding. But not everyone saw Miro's survival as a miracle. A corporate entity, Intergalactic Mining Corp., IGMC, had long coveted Verox for its rich mineral deposits, unconcerned with its ecological and scientific value. News of a potentially protected species complicated their plans. Nathan Greer, the CEO of IGMC, frowned as he read the latest update from his scouts. "A single alien creature could derail our operations. We need to handle this discreetly." The stage was set for a conflict that could determine the fate of Miro, and possibly the future of interspecies relations in the galaxy. Helen and her team were unaware of the looming threat, focused only on their mission to nurse the last Trellic back to health and protect its fragile existence. As Miro's eyes blinked slowly, watching the humans hustle about the lab, it seemed to sense the importance of its survival, not just for itself, but for the entire galaxy. As the weeks melded into one seamless flow of time, Helen's bond with Miro deepened. Their communication transcended the boundaries of species. Helen developed a series of hand signals, and Miro responded with a range of chirps and color changes in its skin that expressed its feelings and needs. The lab was filled with monitors and equipment, all centered around the care of this extraordinary creature, turning it into a sanctuary of sorts for Miro's recuperation. Meanwhile, Dr. Chopra meticulously documented every aspect of Miro's physiology and behavior. The data was invaluable, potentially revolutionizing what humanity knew about non-humanoid alien life. The interest in Miro had spread beyond the confines of their research station, with scholars and media from various human colonies clamoring for updates. One afternoon, as Helen checked the nutrient levels in Miro's habitat, her communicator beeped with an incoming secure message from an unknown source. It was a whistleblower from within IGMC, warning her of the corporation's plans to sabotage their research to pave the way for their mining operations. The message was cryptic, urgent, and chilling in its implications. IGMC has operatives en route to Verox. They intend to discredit your findings and remove any obstacles to their mining claim. Protect Miro at all costs. Shaken, Helen convened an emergency meeting with the research team. Trusting her instincts, she relayed the message, igniting a fierce determination among the group. They agreed to enhance their security protocols and prepare for any attempts to undermine their work. Rajiv, resourceful as ever, contacted allies within the Galactic Environmental Agency, seeking immediate intervention to declare Verox a protected zone. However, bureaucracy entangled their pleas in red tape, and time was slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. In the dead of a Verox night, a stealth ship breached the planet's thin atmosphere. Aboard were IGMC operatives, skilled in corporate espionage. They landed a few kilometers from the research facility, armed with equipment to disrupt the station's communications. Helen was up late, reviewing data when the lights flickered and the main console went dark. A power surge? She murmured to herself, but her gut feeling told her otherwise. She sprinted to Miro's habitat, finding the Trellick pulsing in shades of red, a clear sign of distress. "Easy, Miro, I'm here," she soothed, trying to calm her trembling hands. Outside, the operatives planted charges along the facility's power lines. They were professionals, moving with precision under the cloak of darkness. Their plan was simple: cut off communication, force the team to evacuate in desperation, then sweep in and claim the area as unsuitable for any form of life, Miro included. Back inside, Helen and Rajiv, armed with only their wits and a profound resolve to protect Miro, prepared for the worst. Rajiv rigged a distress beacon to the only shuttle capable of making a suborbital jump, aiming to send an SOS to the nearest human military outpost. The facility shuddered under a controlled explosion, throwing everyone to the ground. Alarms blared, and the emergency lighting bathed the corridors in a grim red glow. Amidst the chaos, Helen clutched Miro, who had curled up in her arms, its body flickering rapidly between colors. "This is it, Miro! Hang on!" she shouted over the din, as Rajiv led them through the disorienting maze of corridors to the shuttle bay. The fate of the night was ablaze with crimson and amber warnings as the research station's emergency systems kicked into overdrive. Helen, clutching Miro tightly, followed Rajiv through the twisting corridors that led to the shuttle bay. Every step was a battle against the tremors that shook the station, remnants of the sabotage by IGMC's operatives. As they entered the shuttle bay, the vast doors groaned under the strain of another explosion, a calculated blow aimed to seal the facility's fate. Helen, Rajiv, and the team were undeterred, their focus unbroken as they scrambled aboard the last functioning shuttle. Rajiv manned the controls, initiating the launch sequence with practiced efficiency. Helen secured Miro within a specially designed containment unit that mimicked the comforting dark of its cave. The Trellick's colors settled into a soft, soothing rhythm, sensing perhaps that these humans were its protectors, its lifeline to survival. Outside, the operatives, realizing their plan had failed to prevent the escape, scrambled to intercept the shuttle. They launched drones, sleek and lethal, designed to disable and not destroy, to preserve the claim that the area was devoid of life. Rajiv expertly navigated the shuttle through the ascending debris and hostile drones. Each maneuver was a dance of precision and peril, a defiance of the corporate might that sought to erase Miro's existence. Meanwhile, Helen's mind raced with contingency plans. Her bond with Miro had forged a fierce resolve in her. She would not let harm come to this alien creature that had, in its own way, shown her the profound connections possible between disparate lives. Miro's antennae flickered lightly, brushing against Helen's hand, a silent communication of trust and fear. Helen reassured the creature with a gentle stroke, whispering promises of safety. Above them, the stars of Verox's night sky were obscured by the looming hull of an IGMC cruiser. It was an ominous shadow equipped to enforce corporate sovereignty over the riches of the planet. But as the shuttle continued its desperate ascent, a burst of static crackled through the communications panel. "Unidentified shuttle. This is Captain Ada Mwangi of the Galactic Environmental Patrol. We received your distress signal. Stand by for assistance. Rajiv replied, relief evident in his voice. Captain Mwangi, this is Dr. Rajiv Chopra. We have on board the last known Trellic, a species thought extinct. We need protection from corporate sabotage. The line was silent for a moment before Captain Mwangi responded. Acknowledged, Dr. Chopra. We are positioning between you and the IGMC cruiser. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. As the patrol ship moved into position, its silhouette a beacon of hope, the IGMC cruiser's intentions became clear. It was not willing to engage with a Galactic Authority ship over a scientific expedition, not when the eyes of the galaxy might be watching. With Captain Mwangi's ship providing cover, Rajiv piloted the shuttle beyond the reach of the drones. The cruiser, its mission compromised, withdrew, biding its time for a less conspicuous opportunity. Back on the shuttle, as the adrenaline of escape ebbed, as their shuttle slipped into the protective shadow of Captain Mwangi's patrol ship, Helen and Rajiv prepared for the longer journey back to the central human colonies. The space around Verox slowly calmed, the corporate cruiser a dwindling threat against the backdrop of a distant nebula, its motives thwarted but not vanquished. Inside the shuttle, the atmosphere was one of cautious relief. Miro's habitat was secured against any turbulence, the Trellic itself showing signs of curiosity about its new surroundings. Its colors pulsed gently, a sign of its adapting moods and the calm it now felt under Helen's care. Dr. Chopra, Dr. Cartwright, once we're clear of Verox's orbit, we'll jump to hyperspace. We should be at the Senate space station within a day. Captain Mwangi announced over the comm system. I advise you to prepare your testimony. IGMC won't waste time mounting a counter-narrative. Rajiv nodded, turning to Helen. We need to compile all our findings, every bit of data on Miro. It's not just about saving a species now, it's about safeguarding the truth. Helen felt the weight of their responsibility as she looked at Miro, who seemed to sense the gravity of their situation. She turned her attention to the data pads filled with weeks of observations and analyses. Every feed, every interaction, every behavioral pattern she had meticulously recorded. It all mattered now more than ever. The journey through hyperspace was uneventful, the stars streaking past the shuttle in brilliant lines of light. Helen used the time to consolidate her research notes, weaving the narrative of Miro's discovery and the subsequent attempts to sabotage their mission. Rajiv worked alongside, drafting the legal and ethical implications, citing galactic statutes on biodiversity and species protection. Upon arrival at the Senate space station, the team was met by a flurry of activity. News of their discovery and the dramatic escape had leaked, drawing attention from various sectors, scientific communities, conservation groups, even the general public. Cameras flashed as they disembarked, reporters lobbing questions about Miro and the actions of IGMC. Helen kept close to Miro's transport module, her presence a shield against the overwhelming attention. Inside, Miro's hues shifted, a spectrum of reaction to the new wave of stimuli. Helen whispered calming words, ensuring the Trellic that the commotion was just another passing storm. Inside the station, Senate officials ushered them into a secure conference room. An emergency meeting had been convened, with representatives from environmental agencies, planetary mining federations, and several interstellar legal bodies. As Helen and Rajiv presented their findings, the room was silent, the audience captivated and concerned. Images of Miro alive and interacting were broadcasted on screens, alongside graphs and videos documenting its behavior and intelligence. IGMC's actions endangered not just a rare species, but highlighted a critical flaw in our oversight of corporate activities on frontier planets, Rajiv stated, his voice firm. The room nodded in agreement, the weight of his words not lost on the assembly. Debate ensued, with various factions arguing over the best course of action. Some pushed for immediate sanctions against IGMC, others advocated for a comprehensive review of mining rights and environmental protections. Through it all, Helen remained focused on Miro's welfare, aware that the outcome of these discussions would dictate its future. She fielded questions with a calm expertise, In the relative tranquility of their newly established research quarters on the Senate space station, Helen and Rajiv worked tirelessly to establish a stable environment for Miro. The Senate's decision had provided them a respite, but they were under no illusions about the permanence of such protection. IGMC's influence was extensive, their resources vast, and their interest in Verox unyielded. The new lab was spacious and equipped with state-of-the-art technology designed to simulate Verox's unique conditions. Miro adapted well, its resilience a testament to its species' once thriving presence on its harsh home planet. Helen often watched the Trellick explore its new surroundings, its movements cautious but curious, each step a dance of colors. One morning, as Helen monitored Miro's interactions with a set of environmental puzzles she had designed, Rajiv entered the lab with an urgent look about him. "Helen, we have a problem," he said, holding up his datapad. The screen showed a legal summons from IGMC, challenging the Senate's protective order and demanding a review of the claims about Miro's significance. "They're not giving up," Rajiv sighed. "They're pushing for a hearing, claiming that we've manipulated data and obstructed their legitimate economic interests." Helen frowned, her gaze drifting back to Miro. The thought of dragging the creature through a battle it could not understand, for stakes it could not comprehend, weighed heavily on her. "We'll need to fight this not just in the courtroom, but in the court of public opinion," she resolved. Over the next few weeks, Helen and Rajiv orchestrated a campaign to raise awareness about Miro and the broader implications of IGMC's actions. They coordinated interviews, engaged with conservation groups, and participated in public forums. Helen found herself at the forefront, Miro often by her side, a silent ambassador of its own cause. Simultaneously, Miro's habitat became a hub for visiting scientists and diplomats from various planetary systems, each eager to see the Trellick and learn about the unique biodiversity of Verox. Miro, for its part, seemed to thrive under the gentle scrutiny, its demeanor gentle and its health improving steadily. The day of the hearing arrived sooner than Helen would have liked. The legal chamber was a vast circular room with a transparent dome that offered a view of the stars beyond. It was here that Helen and Rajiv, alongside their legal team, faced off against IGMC's attorneys before a panel of judges representing a cross-section of galactic jurisdictions. IGMC's lawyers were slick, their arguments a mesh of legal jargon and economic projections. They portrayed the protection order as an overreach of environmental laws, an impediment to the economic development of resource-rich planets like Verox. Rajiv countered with a detailed presentation of their research, bolstered by expert testimonies from environmental and ethical scholars. Helen's final statement was impassioned, focusing on the moral imperatives of interspecies stewardship and the dangers of unchecked corporate greed. As the judges retreated to deliberate, Helen felt the weight of every argument, every piece of evidence they had presented. The waiting was agonizing, the outcome uncertain. Finally, the judges returned, their expressions unreadable. The head judge, a venerable entity from the Cygnus system, began to speak, her voice resonating through the chamber. "After careful consideration, we find that the protection order for Verox remains justified. IGMC's petition is denied." Relief washed over Helen and Rajiv, the tension of months dissipating in a moment of judicial pronouncement. Miro's safety was secured, at least for the time being, but Helen knew this was but one victory in an ongoing struggle. As long as Verox's riches beckoned, IGMC and others would return. For now, though, Helen returned to the lab, to Miro, who awaited her with a display of shimmering lights across its body. With a smile, she realized that every small victory was a step towards a future where beings like Miro could exist in peace. As the reality of their victory sank in, Helen and Rajiv began to plan the next phase of their mission with renewed vigor. The research facility became a hub of activity, attracting scholars, conservationists, and policymakers, each bringing their own expertise and enthusiasm to the cause. Helen spent her days immersed in collaborative studies, pushing the boundaries of xenobiological science while continuing to advocate for the conservation of other endangered species across the galaxy. The facility was expanded to include a new wing, specifically designed for public education and outreach. Helen believed that fostering a connection between the galaxy's citizens and its lesser-known species was key to long-term conservation efforts. Miro, ever the enigmatic ambassador, was a central figure in these efforts, captivating visitors with its unique biology and gentle demeanor. Meanwhile, Rajiv spearheaded the development of legal frameworks to protect other vulnerable ecosystems threatened by corporate exploitation. His work, inspired by their struggle with IGMC, became a cornerstone in the drafting of stringent galactic environmental laws. His dedication to the cause turned him into a respected figure in legal and environmental circles, his expertise sought after by planets and colonies far beyond their own. As weeks turned into months, the impact of their work became evident. The Senate, influenced by the public's growing environmental awareness and the undeniable success of the Verox sanctuary, passed the Galactic Biodiversity Act, a comprehensive set of regulations aimed at preserving the natural heritage of the galaxy. This new law provided a robust mechanism for the protection of all species, ensuring that cases like Miro's would not be an anomaly, but a precedent. One morning, as Helen observed Miro interacting with a group of young students through the glass of its habitat, she reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. Miro's story had not just changed her life, it had altered the course of public policy and corporate accountability within the galaxy. The Trellick, once on the brink of oblivion, had sparked a galactic shift towards conservation and empathy that Helen had only dreamed of when she first landed on Verox. The day of the facility's anniversary arrived, marking 1 year since Miro's discovery. A special event was planned, broadcasted across the galaxy, celebrating the achievements and ongoing efforts of the Verox Conservation Initiative. Helen was asked to speak, her story and Miro's becoming almost legendary. Standing before a crowd of countless beings, Helen shared their story, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all life forms, regardless of origin. Miro has taught us more than we could have imagined, not just about Trellix, but about ourselves. This tiny creature's will to survive, supported by countless individuals who believed in our mission, reflects a universal truth. We are all guardians of life's diversity. Her words resonated, carried across space to touch millions. As the event concluded, Helen returned to Miro's side, watching as the Trellix colors shifted in quiet contentment. They had come so far, and while the road ahead was still fraught with challenges, Helen felt a profound sense of accomplishment and hope. Looking out at the stars from the observation deck, Helen felt a deep connection to the universe. The battles they had fought were not just for Miro or Verox, but for the soul of the galaxy itself. As she stood there, Miro nestled at her feet, a beacon of tranquility amidst a world that had once known none.